Today my stomach's been hurting, and I always use this when I don't know if you can see it. It's doTERRA Digesten. My wife, amazing. She got me into these a while ago. It was like probably 10 years ago. Um, I don't use it very often, but when my stomach hurts, I do use it. But so I wanted to, I feel like the statute of limitations is up on street racing, and I can finally just talk about how I think what I didn't see in the Fast and the Furious original movie, because when the original movie came out, it was kind of like the same time period when myself and all my friends and people we knew kind of did the same thing in high school. I don't know if that was probably I'm assuming that was probably the case everywhere. But one thing I wanted to focus on and why I think that street racing will always exist in certain places is because there's just so many good streets to just drive around on. And especially like when you know the area, it's just there's so many just like little kind of just places where there's no one else around, and it makes it so interesting. Look, I'm not condoning any of the things I'm talking about. I'm just trying to explain how some roads really beg to be driven on quickly. And then if you're competitive by nature or you have friends that are competitive, it just kind of grows. And here's the other thing is like I remember as a kid, you don't realize your car isn't fast. Like my boy Rich, shout out to you, Rich Ho. But he had a Mitsubishi Galant, and I remember there was one time he took this. We were like it was like almost like a banking turn by CSM, and like I remember like he just locked up all the tires. It like, dude, it's stuff like that. It's situations like that that remind you that you should not be street racing. Okay, so I'm gonna say that first and foremost. But even my boy Seb, like before he got his Subaru, he had a Honda Accord 4-door, and obviously it was just a 4-cylinder Honda Accord 4-door, but like I remember we could just, or no, he could just. There was so much you could do if you knew roads, and like you could just, and it was exciting anyway because like even like when you go into like here's the thing, once it gets dark, everything it's just becomes this whole like wonderland where it's just, I don't know, just you and your friends just driving around, and you don't have to do it quickly. I think when I was a kid, I felt like I always had to do things um, the fastest possible way. And now that I'm getting older, I'm like, you know what? I could enjoy these roads slower, I think, too. I mean, you know what? I did, I think there is something to just driving a little bit spirited, and then just kind of knowing kind of your own limitations, not necessarily wanting to go too quickly. I can appreciate that now. But all I'm saying is um, my boy Seth, he could, when you know the area, it just makes it, you can take advantage of that. I remember like on the highways, I mean, obviously, like, when you have more power, obviously, so you could make your moves there. But, once we get off the highway, it's a little different. So that's all I'm saying. I appreciate American Muscle. I do. I really do. But um, in the hills, of Burrow, um, dude, your American Muscle doesn't have anything. I'm sorry. And I wouldn't race anyone. But okay. All right. So my boy. No, I'm not going to talk about other people's cars. Okay. Um, and the only time I ever was a little bit just in my own element was when my dad let me take his Porsche out, and I just remember that was, I it's a for me it was almost like a dream being able to drive a Porsche. Yeah, and granted, it wasn't like brand new, but I actually appreciated that. I appreciated that it was like a classic. Like you had to be like a man to be able to shift that. Like like the play in between all the gears. Like there was like it felt like 6 feet of play in every direction. So you had to know what the fuck you were doing, is what I'm saying. And I was so grateful that he let me take that car out by myself. And like I remember just driving up and down like Burlingame Avenue and all over in San Mateo. I just drove that car. I didn't care if anyone was with me. I really didn't. I really didn't, because I just loved just the sound of the motor too. It was just like there's something so special about that, you know. And that's the thing I love too, is like some of those classic cars, like as long as you respected the car and you knew the car's limitations, you could enjoy yourselves. And like, and you didn't necessarily have to go that fast either. And I think that's what probably low key my dad was actually a brilliant man, is that he realized maybe, you know, if this is a very measured child, maybe if I give him something that's not very fast but actually very cool, he'll respect it. And he knew, you know, low key, I mean, my old man, he was very wise. So that's my 2 cents on the street racing scene. And I think it's always going to exist because I don't know, the area calls to it. Or maybe I just don't know what I'm saying. Disregard everything I just said, because I don't know what I'm talking about. No, I like sharing my experiences. Hi, Baba. All right, my son is calling me. I'm gonna see what he needs, so I will talk to you later. Love you.